Hey guys, good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Nadia's going to join us next week when the trial resumes, but I just thought I talked this morning about the possibility of doing a quick live tonight off the back of Johnny's second day in the dock. Has anyone been watching it? I thought obviously he had an easy day yesterday because his defense attorney was allowing him to talk, at great length with huge long pauses about his side of things and the context in which, the conflict with Amber Heard developed. And today was the first full day, if you like, of him being cross-examined by Amber Heard's, just trying to find my other glasses, by Amber Heard's defense attorney, prosecution, whatever you want to call them. What an unedifying experience it is. Has anyone been watching it? I've had it on in one ear this evening. Have you actually been watching it? You can watch it on NBC. Sophie R, crazy day, lots of surprising jizz and sperm stories. I know, it's an incredibly explicit case, and an incredibly you have to have a strong stomach for a lot of what's going on. It's a lot of blades, a lot of damage, a lot of injury, a lot of anger, a lot of strange self-harm, suggested harm to others. I mean, Rosie Cantillon, you couldn't sum it up better. Such a toxic relationship. I mean, I'm going to run through some of the main things that came up today. Anaphobia, they have to say dates and times and repeat themselves. They do that all the time in American trials. I think it's interesting, isn't it? It's like however much, what's that, Sophia? I hate to say it, but I feel a bit different today about Johnny Depp than I did yesterday. However you present the behaviour of an addict, or, let's take, for example, the awful texts between him and Paul Bettany. I don't know if any of you heard about these. Where he talked about burning her body, raping her corpse, all this kind of stuff. Incredibly strong and loaded language. If you present the barefaced facts of those texts that I guess someone or no one ever expected to be seen in a month of Sundays were possibly sent without being meant, they're never going to sound or look good, are they, in a hearing? I mean, there's never going to be a point where those help your case in any way, shape or form. Becky Fithian just Googled about the texts. Dear heart, he's a nihilist. I mean, the clue is in the fact that he's a rock and roll nutter. He wears skulls and crossbones. He takes all sorts of drugs. He's depressed, I think, dear heart. That's the understatement of the year, that he's depressed. So he's clearly drawn, you're right, to nihilism. Being a nihilist doesn't make you an abuser. And also, being angry and losing your temper doesn't also necessarily mean you're a wife batterer. That's not to say that it wasn't incredibly intimidating for her to be around. She looked really traumatized. I mean, the most compelling part of this whole strange experience is who is responsible. I guess it's NBC. I guess they're getting camera feeds from all positions. And I guess someone at NBC is cutting between Johnny and her. I have to say, they're cutting to her at the wrong times. But there were a couple of moments today where you saw she kind of got about as emotional as we've seen her. And I think it's very hard and it's unfair, because I think a lot of people are commenting on the fact that she looks Ice Maiden-like and expressionless and unmoved. And I think, it's easy to read a dispassionate sort of intent into that. But if she looked like anything, she's going to be pulled up. So I think her best option is to be totally inexpressive. I mean, in a weird way, so is Johnny, apart from when he makes shows. I mean, I have to confess, he's got comedy bones, hasn't he? I mean, every now and then he chucks out a joke. I think for me, his most entertaining comment of the day, which made Nadia laugh out loud, was, yes, he gave a pill, I guess, or something, to Marilyn Manson to simply stop him talking. it was kind of obvious what was also being suggested there. The Marilyn Manson, driving that Marilyn Manson connection, where obviously Marilyn Manson is involved in the case with, her name escapes me. Oh, what's the name of the woman from Westworld? He's involved in a sort of abuse case, isn't he? A sort of Me Too, coercive control and battery, I think case. So connecting the two up, just hearing Johnny Depp's name in the same sentence as Marilyn Manson, Evan Rachel Wood. Thank you, Daniel. It's never going to stack up good, well, is it, with the jury? Because the jury's going to sit there going, so is this the kind of guy you fraternise with? And then alongside, most boring trial on record, Emma Savani. It kind of is and it kind of isn't. It kind of, with him in the dock, it moves at like a glacial pace. It's like an iceberg taking hours to move past. And then what you realise as that iceberg that is Johnny Depp's sort of testimony goes past is you start to hear the incredibly loud cracks of an iceberg impacting against a glacier. And suddenly you're put in mind of the fact that the most awful thing is starting to crumble and fall away. And you realise that's what's happening. It's just like watching, I mean, I've never really understood the meaning of a slow motion car crash. This is a total car crash, or watching of a car crash in total slow motion. Tralala, hi Mark, hi Tralala. It's fascinating and sad, just think they're both to blame against each other. Both should have the same outcome in Hollywood, fault on both sides. I'm a bit scared by her, I must admit. She's hard to read, isn't she? She's, implacable and sort of unreadable. Faith Goodman, her lawyer was so annoying, telling JD the dates of the audio and video. Well, I couldn't see them on the subtitles. Could you guys hear the dates or video recordings? No, I couldn't. They were very unclear. Was that? Did I see Reese? Reese, did I see your comment come through there somewhere? Where are you? Sorry, Reese. Saw Reese Roberts. Rachel Evan Wood, thank you. If you watch Law and Crime, Sophie R, you can watch both of their faces at the same time. It's up to the individual streamer, access to which feed. Sky was... I see, so everyone's choosing different things. So I just get a sense of where people are at. Are you sitting on either side, or are you on sort of you down the middle? I mean, I have to confess, I have a soft spot for Johnny Depp, but I think I have to go down the middle when I say who's more responsible than the other. I think the reason there's possibly such an anti-Amber Heard contingent who's so furious is that it's clear that Johnny Depp has been punished infinitely more and more severely by Hollywood and the industry than she has, and I think that iniquity is kicking in. My sense of things is that yes, you can prove, which they're doing easily, yes, you can prove he's a total car smash. He's delusional, even in the language that he uses about getting sober or not getting sober or being clean or being in rehab. He hasn't sorted that shit out at all, even though we've heard about emails and texts from Elton John trying to help him out. His comprehension of what sobriety is up the creek. His comprehension of what being clean is up the creek. His dates are wrong. But that chaos and shambolic structure to his life, and even all the shabby bits, the bits at the edges of that awful recording at the end where you've just got the awful sound of iron or steel or metal, presumably a blade of some form, with them both talking in that really odd, almost seductive way, but kind of, shall I cut myself? Did it? I mean, again, I suppose the big question is, there was one particular bit, I don't know if anyone saw it, where there was a clip shown of Johnny slamming his kitchen doors of his cabinets a couple of times, storming backwards and forwards. He looked like a toy cowboy. He looked really odd with a sort of little pot belly wandering around. And then he pours himself what Amber Heard's defence attorney called a mega pint of wine, and it's and this was used obviously as an example of him being uncontrollable, irrational, unpredictable. But as Johnny Depp made the point, he said he was angry and he expressed it against a cupboard. He wasn't angry with her. And if she was feeling so threatened, why didn't she leave? But instead, and I thought this was the most compelling thing, I think Amber Heard's counsel thought this was the kind of slam dunk clip. I think it might have backfired. I don't know if any of you saw the clip thing, because you could obviously see her positioning the camera repeatedly to get the footage and then hiding the camera from him, knowing that he was a bit drunk. She also clearly knew that he'd already had a drink, because she mentions it. And so there was an element of her, she was kind of, honey trapping him in a way with the footage. And then you do see a clip at the end where she's laughing. And as Johnny Depp says, what's more concerning is that your partner is filming this stuff sort of under the radar and then laughing about it. Honey trapping, that's it. So, do you know what I mean? It's kind of, so even within and if that's the most, now, and there were many other situations like that. So you've got, there's lots of talk about the monster within. He was talking about the fact that it wasn't a literal monster. His demons, his monsters were his addiction. There's that. Then there were the texts between Johnny Depp and Paul Bettany. This is the burn her corpse, rape her corpse, talk of jizz and all this kind of terrible stuff. Totally awful to have to listen to, and deeply embarrassing for him to say that he sent them. But again, do they make a person a wife batterer? Or could it be hyperbole between men with very odd senses of humour? Marilyn Manson, clearly by association. I think the prosecutor, the Amber Heard's counsel, were trying to do something by association there. Photo of Johnny Depp with the ice cream on his lap. His inference yet again that the ice cream was placed there. The idea that his hand was in his pocket, so he wasn't particularly engaged in the eating. So was this photo staged? He kind of equated the idea, or the suggestion was, and I'm sure this is going to come again, because I think after Johnny's been put through the gamut, his defense attorney, his attorney, will come back and sort of clarify and mop up the mess. Because there's a lot of mess now. There's a lot of spilt wine. There's a lot of ice cream everywhere. But yeah, so, there's a suggestion that he was staged. There was also the photograph around the Lone Ranger time of all of his drug paraphernalia on a table. Me and Nadia said when we first saw that, it all looks a bit too neat and a little bit too set out. So there was further discussion about his drug box. Was it a drug box for cocaine? Again, lots of kind of dry, witty comments from him about the nature of drug taking, the way in which drugs affect you, whether you could be in blackout, whether you could be high on a certain drug or not, things like that. So that was all up for debate. We heard footage of Depp moaning like an injured animal on the flight. I mean, at this point, you see, in the area where you get a sort of an addict or an alcoholic to talk about their past behaviour and they're saying, well, I didn't have a drink, and then you hear footage of them moaning like a dying animal, it's very hard to make anyone think, oh, you're just a liar. But, denial, being in denial about your addictions also doesn't make you a wife batterer, necessarily. Being an addict doesn't make you a wife batterer. And I think that's the important aspect here. And why is this all important? Because let's not forget, he's brought the case against Amber Heard for inferring in her column I can't remember what magazine it was for, Variety magazine or something, for her report suggesting, her op-ed piece suggesting that she was a poster girl for domestic abuse. So he clearly feels that's naming him, and therefore that's why they're talking about whether he was an abuser or not. So there were lots of disputes over the duration of his sobriety. You ask any active, in denial addict or whatever about the dates of anything. I mean, me and Nadia were staggered yesterday that he remembered as many dates as he did. You were lucky to get, he did call Vanessa Paradis a cunt. That was a very disappointing moment, wasn't it? And I think even he was disappointed in himself. But again, this is the important thing. Out of control, off his tits, unreliable, irrational, volatile. But does that make him a wife batterer? And I think if it was so clear, would they not have the clear evidence already? I think for me, one of the areas that it got really squeaky bum for Johnny was around the headbutt moment. This is around the photograph on the People magazine where they were in a fracas. He claims that he was holding her, and in the kind of argy-bargy of movement, their heads struck each other. They then looked at recordings in which, I must admit, I thought it was very hard to make out what he was saying. And I think his defence could make a very strong case for it wasn't audible, it wasn't clear. Claire Buckley, you're absolutely right. Domestic abuse isn't just physical violence, but I'm sure Johnny Depp's defenders would argue that some of Amber Heard's behaviour could also therefore be domestic abuse without it necessarily being physical. But I totally get your point. Domestic abuse isn't just about physical violence at all. It's about coercive control and everything else. And I think that's obviously the portrait that they're trying to present. And I think the danger here, and I think in a weird way, the big question mark around this whole thing is really, well, in a sense, it's like, if you are an out-of-control addict or alcoholic, does your lack of reliability and the sort of uncontrollability of your behaviour leave you vulnerable to being called anything? You could be called anything. You could be honey-trapped into any scenario. You can be triggered on any number of things, because if your buttons are that easy to punch or press, once you've had this, that or the other in your system, it's very hard to draw the line, isn't it, between what you decided to do or what's been riled in you and all that sort of stuff. Sophia, is this the first? Yes, this is the first day I've kind of had it in my ear for the majority of the afternoon. Yeah, you've been addicted to it for the first 7 days, Sophia. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fascinating when Amber Heard actually takes the stand, isn't it? Reese Roberts, they came cutting to her in the courtroom for her emotional reaction, except she wasn't really expressing emotion, which lends itself into the exploitative theory. However, Depp's mood swings are volatile. I don't think, although Depp, I think the little kind of barbed comments at Miss Heard's lawyer, I don't know if they'll help him. His little kind of acerbic, yes, that's what I said, yes, I've read it, yes. How many times has that lawyer said to Johnny Depp, have I read it correctly? And in countless different ways, Johnny Depp has said, yes, you've read it really well. It's really weird, isn't it? Another strong point, I thought, was the comment regarding why was there no collateral damage to the rest of his hand from where the vodka bottle struck. What did you think of that? What did you think of that aspect? Yes, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. It is gripping, isn't it? Not so gripping to Johnny, though. He did get narky today. She admitted to hitting him, Sophie Simpson, on audio. Apparently she was abusive to her ex-girlfriend too. It would be interesting at Tralala to hear from Amber Heard's previous partners to see. Yeah, I've been curious to know what other people think of her. Did Jason Momoa come out with some kind of opinion on her from Aquaman? Bailey, maybe we should all be grateful that the shambolic dysfunction has kept Depp from making those bloody awful pirate movies. So, I have to say I'm a secret fan of the old Pirates of the Caribbean. Shonsta Migmol, nail polish on the Kleenex. Yeah, that was the one moment yesterday I thought she looked gobsmacked, like she'd been rumbled. But today I thought the question around the bottle, his finger, the lack of injury to his surrounding fingers, i.e. no more shattered glass, and also the fact that he claimed to have cut his finger off, that all got a little bit weird. And Johnny K, you're right, writing in his blood and then dipping his bloodied finger, and to quote Amber Heard's lawyer, to then use your finger essentially like a paintbrush is quite bizarre. Watching it, if you watch it, I wasn't going to watch it, and then I got hooked in today mainly because of you, Reese and Sophie R. It's literally like, I've said it before, it's literally like watching a slow motion car crash. So the suggestion of no glass fracture in his hand, and then of course the headbutt up for dispute. But I thought the video footage, was a curious one to end on, because I thought her defence thought this was a winner. If I was Johnny Depp's lawyer, I'd be looking at that clip going, brilliant, that's what you've ended with today. Great, that's where we're going to pick things up when we start, and we're going to be able to unpick every aspect of that, because it's a low hit. It's a low hit. Andrea Smith, I've watched all the days. I think they're both as bad as each other, and possibly more her, to be honest. Just awful. All these details are being aired. Jason Momoa began following Johnny yesterday on Instagram, Winbok. You're joking. Have you seen the CCTV footage of her with James Franco hugging Elon Musk in their apartments, lifts, elevators? Crazy. Well, James Franco, I mean, okay, so if Johnny can be tainted with his association with Marilyn Manson, presumably Amber could be tainted with her association with James Franco if he's been brought in as a character witness. Because let's face it, James Franco has only just been done or had to settle on a lot of horrible allegations that he essentially set up an acting school in order to have sex with lots of young actresses. So he's hardly the most upstanding character witness that she could bring to the stand. So I think they are bringing James Franco in. I think we could see Elon Musk in there. I think sadly Elon Musk is going to be in there. Let's hope he hasn't smoked too much pot, because of course, how reliable is Elon Musk on the stand, given that he's stoned most of the time? Paul Bettany's going to be brought in too, who we only recently saw at the Young Vic. Astonishing performance as Andy Warhol. So there's a lot to come. So there's no trial tomorrow. There's no trial on Saturday or Sunday. It comes back on Monday. And I think me and Nads will be jumping back on this on Monday night. But please, share all your thoughts below. What do you think? What do you think of these things? So there was the talk of the monster. Tell us what you think of that. There were the texts between Bettany and Depp. I want to burn her body and rape it. There's the Marilyn Manson pill. That for me was the laugh out loud moment. Marilyn Manson being given a pill by Johnny Depp to basically shut the fuck up. Photo of Johnny Depp with ice cream down him. Was it staged? Depp's jealousy over the woman who was snogging Amber Heard after a bit of MDMA around the fireplace. Justified jealousy? Don't know. Depp moaning on a flight. Was that him high? Was that him out of it? Or was that just him, I don't know, taking a crap? Disputes over duration of sobriety. Don't ask a drunk person how long they were sober when they haven't been sober since. Suggestion of no glass fracture in the hand. What do you think? Is the vodka story a load of nonsense? Did he make it up? Did he try and cut it off? The daubed messages. Is that a man deranged? As you say, someone said, is it just nihilism? Is he a nihilist? Is that what his thing is? And that's why that would explain his language. That would explain his drug use. That would explain these dark places he goes to. Don't forget the grumpy poo yesterday. And Amber Heard's, their final submission of footage of him slamming some cupboard doors, pouring himself a mega pint of wine, and her undercover filming. Tell us what you think about that. And the headbutt. Those are the headlines of today. Tell us what you think. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow for the no name news, for coffee moaning, and for the news quiz. Sleep tight.